I want to take just a second to thank Frank and Guardian Leadership, because it's not often that you have somebody who's so passionate about public safety training that will include the 911 industry. So we are very fortunate that we were given the opportunity for a lot of this training and this leadership summit. So thank you, Frank. We appreciate it. So there's a scientific study that states if you stand like this in superhero pose for just 5 minutes before a job interview, a big presentation, or a really hard task, you will not only feel more confident, but you will perform measurably better. Now, for those Grey's Anatomy fans out there, you know that's a quote from the show. But I'm a research nerd, and I looked it up, and it actually is a thing. It's called power posing, and it's only for 2 minutes. Regardless of what your belief system is about research, there's always criticisms when it comes to research. I think it's more about a feeling of confidence and what works for you. This works for me. I stood back there for about 5 hours power posing before this presentation. So I encourage you to get your power pose on, bask in the confidence, and be a superhero. This session is called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. So 2 things Pastor said about me. My last name is Alterio. I'm Italian, and I'm from New York. So having to use one hand, and it's tough. It's going to be tough up here. So I do like to talk with my hands, and I do like to talk a lot. I am 2 months into my role as the director for Cobb County 911. Yay. It's a lot of my Cobb 911 folks here, and Roswell. Yay. We'll talk about them in a minute. I have worked my way up from frontline telecommunicator to trainer to training supervisor, all the in-between stuff, to director. I've never been outside of 911. 911 is my life. I live there. I breathe it. I take it as my responsibility to serve the rest of the public safety community, but mostly to serve the dispatchers to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to make sure all of our public safety emergency responders go home at the end of their shift. That is my purpose. Before I tell you a little bit about my story, I have a couple of questions for you. Do you want to feel great? Do you feel a greater purpose in your life? Do you feel inspired, motivated to get involved, to lead others, especially after today's phenomenal session so far? And we're not done yet. What is holding you back? Do you believe you have what it takes to be a leader? My job today, especially after all these amazing sessions, is to motivate you to get out there, feel the fear, and do it anyway. So I'm going to encourage you all to make a choice. Step out of your comfort zone. Embrace that fire that is burning inside of your belly. It's going to require work, and it's going to be a risk. But what's worse than never taking a risk is regret. If we waited until we thought we were ready to try, we would never, ever be ready, right? So get out there, get out of your comfort zone, make a choice. Get in the arena and dare greatly. That's what I want to talk to you about today. So, in order to do that, you have to step inside of your story. You have to own your story. Brené Brown says, you either walk inside your story and you own it, or you stand outside of your story and you hustle for your worthiness. So Brian was just talking about stories. I got to tell you a little bit about mine. Those outside of my, we'll just say, circle, didn't really know who I was. And that bothered me a great deal. I was constantly misunderstood for many, many years. So I'm going to embrace the vulnerability here, be a little brave, and I'm going to tell you what happened. A very, very, very dear friend of mine happened to say to me one day, we were at a conference, and I was a little upset about what somebody had said to me the night before about how, gosh, you always look so sad, or you always look like you're always in a bad mood. And I was like, I just don't understand this. It's really bothering me. And I had that fire in my belly for years and years and years. But when she said that to me, I was like, well, or when I said that to her, she turned around and said, she goes, well, yeah, I mean, you can see everything on your face. That is a little scary, number one. I was like, what? What? What do you mean you could see everything on my face? I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry. So I was so intrigued, okay? I was so intrigued by that I just dove into the research. So, and it's a real thing, okay? It's called RBF. So we are in church. I'm not going to spell it out for you. If you don't know what it is, please look up the acronym, but the middle word rhymes with which. And I say this to you because I had that fire in my belly and I wanted to do more. I was motivated to do more, but something was holding me back. And the thing that was holding me back was me. I was the one holding me back. And so I needed to change. So I dove into the research like the nerd that I am, and I literally looked up like RBF. And it's a thing. I mean, like it really is a thing. But more importantly, there's ways to like combat that. Smile more. Laugh more. And I did that. My boss thought I was, well, I won't tell you what he thought, but he thought that I was mocking him. And he said a lot more choice words than that. And I was like, I'm not. I'm trying to not have the RBF go on, right? The problem that I realized, all joking aside, is that everything that I wanted to do and every purpose that I had, every inspiration that was burning inside of me, there was one problem. I was unapproachable. Hard to believe, right? Because I talk a lot and I get in people's business. But I was seriously unapproachable. I knew that I had to change. What I wanted people to see was the person that I was. And who I was and who I am is a very kind, generous, compassionate person. Everything that I do is steeped in kindness. My mom likes to say, my heart is as big as my butt. I don't take offense to that because she's my mom, but if somebody else says that to a woman, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to go home that night. But my mom can say it. But the point is, nobody knew who that was about me. In public safety, we have this expectation or stereotype about us that we have to have this rough and tough exterior. And it's doubly hard in the 911 profession because we think that that's what is expected of us from our emergency responders also. So I was closed off, and I never even realized it. But I wanted people to know who I was, and that's when I started learning about vulnerability and authenticity, which was mentioned a couple times already this morning, authenticity. I haven't heard the word vulnerable mentioned too much today, or at all. But vulnerability and leadership, it's okay. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to share with your peers like you're going to share with your therapist on a couch, no. But I'm saying it is okay for me to share with Team Roswell over here that I have this problem that every so often you might have to nudge me and say, hey, watch your face. That's authenticity. That's being authentic. That's sharing who you are. We all just came through the worst nightmare of our lives, and apparently it's not over, right? But as leaders, as frontline dispatchers, as frontline workers, as midline supervisors and managers, none of us knew what to do during COVID, right? None of us knew what to expect. We had a serious fear of the unknown. What was the worst thing that could be done as a leader is to fake it. So we dove into authenticity and said, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and that's okay because we're going to go through it together. So back to my story a little bit. I dove into the research so much. I smiled more, I laughed more, I got some crazy looks, that was okay. I didn't care. There was a fire in my belly. I was on my path to find my true north, and that was all that mattered because I knew that there was something greater. I started investing in my professional development just like you are. I dove into the books. I learned so much about leadership, about serving the people, because I sat in that seat and I knew what it was like, and I wanted to be a people-driven leader. That was my goal. John Maxwell is my idol. Simon Sinek helped me find my why. Brene Brown encouraged me to dare to be great. And Admiral McRaven taught me that if I just make my bed every morning, I can change the world. I made my bed this morning. In all this research, I did realize something. The place that I was at was no longer feeding my soul. But I was afraid that there was nothing I could do about it. So I'm not ashamed to say that I trusted God, and I let him guide the way, and I committed to keeping my options open, and the next thing I knew, I had the opportunity to go lead the city of Roswell in an entirely different state. And I packed up everything I knew, me and Joey, that's the dog, by the way, and we left and we moved to Metro Atlanta. And it was the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I felt the fear and did it anyway. I knew that I was destined for something amazing. And I'm not saying that in an egotistical way. I am beyond humbled for the opportunities that I've had. I am beyond humbled for the mentors that have encouraged and empowered and supported me and pushed me out the door, even though it meant leaving that center. That is my goal, and that is my purpose. What is yours? What is your story? Do you feel inspired to do more? Many people talk themselves right out of their dreams, and they settle for mediocre, but doubting yourself is riskier than trying and failing. So get out there and try. Teddy Roosevelt says, get in the arena, and if you try and fail, at least you will have failed while daring greatly. And then you get back up and you try again. Be courageous. Be brave. The greatest barrier against fear is inside of your own head. So stoke up that inner tenacity, work hard, step up, and show up. And if you want to lead others, you are going to have to get out of your comfort zone. So I want to talk about, I love this saying because sometimes it's a little cliche, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. So where are you at right now? Are you sitting there thinking to myself, yeah, I can never do this in my place of work. I have the worst leader in the world. Our morale is so horrible. We are so burnt out. There is just no point in doing any of this. She just doesn't know what she's talking about. Morale is low. Is anybody else accountable for morale other than you? Because you're the only one who can be accountable to yourself, correct? I hear it many times that management, supervision, leadership is to blame for morale, and I don't believe that. I believe that morale starts with the individual. So I challenge you all, what are you doing in your lives to invest in yourself? What are you doing to turn things in your agency into a positive organizational culture? What are you doing to be that change that you want to see? And it starts with frontline workers. It doesn't start at the top. It actually starts at the bottom, I think, and everything in between. So if you want to be a part of the change, you have to step up, show up, feel the fear, and do it anyway. Negativity breeds negativity. It's not about whether the cup is half empty or half full. The cup is refillable. So refill it. Replenish it. Perception is huge. Change that culture yourselves. You're doing it today by investing in yourself, by being part of this professional development. You're already started, so kudos to you for being part of the change. And then also take a look at how you're being perceived. You can't complain about somebody else unless you take a cold, hard look at yourself first, right? I had a mirror put up in front of my face several years ago, and I didn't like what I saw, so I sought to change. And I am a director of the third largest PSAP in the state of Georgia. Okay, that was a little egotistical, just sorry. I'm very grateful for that, y'all, seriously. Because that was my dream, to lead a large 911 center. And I had a fabulous team in Roswell that helped get me there. So take a cold, hard look at yourselves, and what is it that you can do today to begin that change? Are you supervisors who have failed in the past? When you look inside yourselves, do you think, yeah, I probably could do this a little bit better? Do you have some RBF going on? Do you think it's too late to change? It's never too late to change, right? It's never too late to improve. I challenge you and encourage you to go back to your agencies, go back to your teams and say, you know what? I recognize that I might not have been the best leader in the past, but I am going to change starting today. And this is what you can expect from me moving forward. Vulnerability. That's being vulnerable and authentic. Owning your story first before you take that leap forward. Be the change you want to see in your agency. Create opportunities, reinvent yourself, own your story. Feel that fear and do it anyway, because that also takes a good amount of courage to go back to your teams or whoever you're leading or your peers, if you're a frontline worker, and say, I have not been the most positive person in the world, but I'm going to do better because I want more. I want more for us. I want more for you. Might it be possible that you're laughed at? Sure. Does that matter? No. It was my boss who looked at me like I was crazy. He's my mentor, by the way, so I can say that about him, and that's okay. The title of this presentation was supposed to be, I'm nicer than my face looks. I decided to change at the last minute because it's a series. I owned my story, took the leap, felt that fear, and I really don't have, I guess I do have RBF, right? I guess I do. Okay, I'll own it. But I'm really an introvert. And here's where I was missing. I'm an introvert, not that you really need to know all this, but here's me being vulnerable. I'm an introvert. I'm a critical thinker. So when somebody asks me a question and I'm like, people think, well, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, I'm just thinking. How are you being perceived? I hear people say that, well, that's what they think of me. I can't help that. But you can. You can help that. You can help how you're being perceived if it's something that you can consciously change. That was something I can change. I am not an unhappy person. I am a very happy person. Thank you, God. And so why wouldn't I want people to see that? Why wouldn't I want to be perceived that way? I don't want to be perceived as a negative Nelly all the time, because I wasn't. That was the problem. I was not. So how are you being perceived in your agencies? Find your purpose. Be brave. Purpose is what defines us. When I started to feel this greater purpose again several months ago, a couple of things happened, because I did take the leap into the city of Roswell. I had some amazing opportunities to inspire, motivate, and empower others, and that is my purpose. And I had that opportunity. And it was 5 years in when I started to see those that I was influencing start to influence others. And then that's when I knew that it was time to move on. And it broke my heart. I was scared to death. But then the opportunity came, and I started to feel that fire in my belly. And I started to feel that purpose. And I was ready. Is it something that I've never dealt with before? Absolutely. Am I worried? Smidge. I got like 15 folks here today, so I got to make it look good. I'm kidding, y'all. There's always going to be fear. I don't have a problem saying that. I'm always going to be afraid. I was afraid to give this presentation today. But I did it anyway. The greatest compliment you can have as a leader is when somebody tells you how much you have impacted and influenced their life. It's humbling. And for me, I can't speak for all of you, but for me, it just makes me want to keep doing it and do more and do more and do more. So I, again, encourage you, what are you going to do after today? What tools are you going to put in your toolbox? Are you going to be a superhero? Are you going to show up and dare greatly and get in the arena, keep moving forward? Or are you just going to sit back and let somebody else do it? Are you going to fuel that fire? Because I know you're feeling it. I don't know how you cannot feel it after today's amazing presentations. Keep moving forward. Create that legacy, like Brian said. You create a legacy every single day in your agencies when you're ready to take that leap. Maybe it's not a leap elsewhere. Maybe it's a leap up into promotion. But wherever you go, make sure you leave the previous place better than when you found it. And you'll leave a legacy that matters. Be legendary. You all have it in you. The difference between who you are and what you want to be is what you do. If you've never heard of Carrie Lorenz, I strongly encourage you to go out and get her book titled Fearless Leadership. It's absolutely amazing. You don't have to hold a position of leadership to be a leader. We talked about this numerous times today. I think that was pretty clear that was a great message today, that everybody has influence no matter the title. Courtney Gale was a sergeant with the Athens-Clarke County Police Department, and she had a dream. She started the Georgia Association of Women in Public Safety. She didn't just say, hey, I want to start this. She grabbed a bunch of women and said, I have this idea. It's crazy. I don't know what you guys think about it. And all of us were like, well, heck yeah, let's do it. She was a sergeant with Athens-Clarke County Police Department. Within about a year or two of founding the organization, she became a lieutenant with the UGA Police. We're getting ready to give in the springtime our 5th annual conference, and it keeps growing. It might be 4th, because I kind of have amnesia during COVID, so don't quote me on that. And now she is the first, I'm happy to say, in the last month, was named the first female police chief for the city of Thompson. Legendary. That is the stuff of legends. Be brave. Find your purpose. Get out there, dare greatly, feel the fear, and do it anyway. Thank you.